You wouldn't do anything.
Sure.
No.
You wouldn't hit a kid in glasses.
Not on purpose.
So let's go from silly to extremely serious, shall we?
Are the Panthers doing steroids? No.
Well, wasn't LaRock a Panther?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of that.
Chris,
now.
can we look that up?
He was a Coyote.
He was a Coyote. Now, I have in front of me just an article from a while ago about Greg Wyszynski. Wyszynski. I never freaking say his name wrong. Whatever. I follow him on Twitter anyway, so whatever. He's amazing, and he actually, is writing an article about George LaRock's book.
Yeah, this is in 2011.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, George LaRock says about steroids, he's like, as for tough guys, a statistic maniac can easily identify someone who is taking drugs and someone who isn't. All you have to do is compare their last junior league's weight to the one they had arriving in the pros. Nobody, and I really mean nobody, can gain 40 to 70 pounds in one summer without taking something suspicious, which has happened.
40 to 70 pounds.
And the other thing you have to look at too.
No.
Well, I'm sure there are guys, man. I'm sure if you looked, there are guys.
I'm sure.
I'm not saying that it's prevalent, but I'm sure there are guys that have. And you look at their foreheads and their chins. If those grow exponentially, the Barry Bonds effect, chances are. It
is impossible to gain that kind of weight. I know a guy who was offered a spot on the Brampton Battalion, now the North Bay Battalion, if he gained 30 pounds. And he gained 10 and got a tapeworm. And
wow.
So there goes that. And he's just one of those guys who's really good. I think he plays for Guelph now.
Oh, well, good. Well,
not the Storm University. So didn't quite make the O.
By the way, I'm way off. George LaRock did not play for the Florida Panthers. Just seems like a team he would play for.
Dick. Another weight gain story is Nikita Filatov. When he was drafted, was about $160, $165,
right?
And apparently would eat and eat and eat to the point of throwing up, because they were just like, shove this food in you, kid, to get him to gain weight.
Wow.
Yeah.
And some of these guys, their metabolisms are still really, really fast, right? So it's kind of hard for them to gain weight. And I mean, gain strength is one thing, but gaining weight is a completely different thing.
There was Cody Eakin, who I think is now on the Caps, or is it Stars? I don't. He was drafted by one, traded to the other. Anyway, he said when I interviewed him when he was trying out for Team Canada's World Junior Team, that he was on a 3,200 calorie a day diet.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's a few Big Macs.
That's a lot, yeah. But then I asked the Shens about that, and the look on their face. Well, I talked to Luke at a different time, but I was speaking to Braden Shen, and he was just like, that little bastard.
What?
Well, they don't have that metabolism. They couldn't possibly eat 3,200 calories and get the same results as him.
For sure.
No, they'd just be being fit.
Yeah.
That's why when everyone was like, oh my God, Shen is 240 pounds or whatever, that one summer he gained a lot of weight, it's not really surprising because he just puts on weight naturally.
Right.
So I don't know. Or maybe he did steroids, I don't know.
Now, we were talking about steroids, we were talking about partying in the NHL, we were talking about all that in the last episode, just to catch you up if you missed it. And it's interesting because you can always email stevedanglepodcast@gmail.com. We have no way to verify this as being fact, but it's a very detailed email. And as we said earlier in the show, we can't really tell you most of it.
Yeah. And again, the guy said, my family member played for this team, and this team. And immediately I was like, oh, okay. I just gave it away. 4 teams. But basically, he goes yada, yada, yada through some details that I cannot say.
Yeah, and that's what makes this email believable, right? That's why we're giving it any credence at all.
He goes on to say, my family member had a heart attack, which was weird for a guy in the shape that he was. This is a retired player.
Mm-hmm. So this guy spent significant time in the NHL?
Yes.
Okay.
It turned out that steroid use had weakened his heart. I'm reading this from the email now. Trainers, and I don't know which team, he says, gave him steroids at several points in his career to help him recover more quickly from injury and to play through injury. Apparently, this was common practice at the time. I'm not sure if it's going on in today's NHL, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. So needless to say, we were like, well, okay, we're definitely going to be talking about this on the show.
Right. And
that's pretty big.
And when you probably hear that and you go, well, what the heck were they making such a big deal of it? It's the guy's not telling us anything too crazy. Mm-hmm. But I think the craziest part of that is that last part that you just mentioned right there. It's the fact that, the NHL has so vehemently denied it, and that it does exist. It really does. And you have NHLers on record saying that it does exist. And in this same article that I quoted earlier, there's a guy named Justin Bourne.
Yes, met him recently for a beer.
Okay. Now, tell me about Justin.
Good guy. Former pro player. I think he had a tryout with the Islanders or signed with them, drafted, I'm not sure. Played in the AHL. I think he was in Alaska for university or something. He's played at a very high level. And he now writes for The Score.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, now...
And he has written for Yahoo Sports also.
This was a point that we brought up on the last podcast, and this is quoting Justin directly. He said, my main question is, what does the NHL or NHLPA have to gain from keeping from testing, basically, right?
No, at a minimum.
At a minimum, sorry. So maybe they're worried that catching players with positive tests may eat away at hockey's credibility the way baseball's has been damaged. I don't know. I can't think of any other reason. Now, I'm going to stop quoting him right there and say, exactly. Because if you're the NHL and steroid use is maybe, let's say it's not as prevalent as baseball was, especially with the superstars. But let's say it's there and 25% of players are using it, which is a lot. That's a pretty big revelation if that ever came out. If you started catching guys left, right, and center, and that's public knowledge, that does damage a sport that has already damaged itself significantly with the lockouts in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And also...
The NHL can't afford this.
No, it really can't. So
they can't afford anything. It's true. Like, I'm not even saying that to be funny. Like, it can't afford to look worse than it does.
Yeah.
It just can't.
My question would be, do you think there would be anything to the NHL just doing, like, they're so closed doors as far as, like, refs go, and, like, I imagine there's some sort of system in place where they would reprimand refs for calling a bad game or something, and we just never hear about it. So do you think that there's a system in place where, like, there would be testing for steroids and there would be some of this stuff, and because they're so good at shutting the door on stuff like that, we just never hear about it?
I'm actually really glad you brought that up because we didn't plan this, but that was another tip we got over email. This guy goes, yeah, I know a ref, and he made a couple bad calls at the, during the season, and he would have been given playoff games, and as a result of his performance, he wasn't awarded those playoff games. To change the subject a little bit. And he also mentioned Stéphane Auger, which was the ref involved in... remember that thing a few years ago with Alex Burrows? And Burrows said that ref was out to get him?
Yes.
And if you watch that game, oh my God, he so clearly was out to get Alex Burrows. It's not even debatable. Apparently, he was privately reprimanded. This is what this guy says.
Now, again, we'll be straight up and honest with you. We're a brand new show. So for us to have legitimate sources at this point is pretty tough.
Our official hashtag is #SteveSpeeby.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to break this news. Like, this is just stuff we were given. This
is stuff that's happened or we were given. It's conjecture at this point.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, there has to be some sort of reprimand in place. And I could tell you, man, I see what you're saying, Chris, in the sense that there has to be more people that were caught than what we know about, right?
Oh, and I do need to correct myself. I said one of the players that was caught was Brett Hedican, or I thought it might be Brett Hedican. It was not.
Okay.
It was Sean Hill.
Oh, okay.
And he was suspended 20 games.
So another big defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah.
Who played for the Panthers. Pretty sure he played for the Panthers.
I think he might have.
I know he was in the Hurricanes for
I love when Chris
forever.
just picks up his phone and here we go. All right.
Here we go. Now I got to Google what those idiots say. Now, Bill Daly has said, and this is from an old article in USA Today, when Dick Pound actually came out years ago and said, hey, 1 in 3 NHLers are definitely using steroids, and the NHL is doing absolutely nothing about it. Dick Pound, Canadian guy, at that point was the head of the IOC drug testing program. That's the Olympic Committee's drug testing program. He said, Bill Daly came out and said, I don't think we've ever had the same problem as Major League Baseball. Hockey players have been tested for many years in international play. It's simply not a part of their culture.
I mean, that is really super easy to say. I don't know. We're looking at it right now. Sean Hill.
I swear he played for the Panthers. Don't make me be wrong.
Yes, one season.
I'm batting 50 or 500.
One season.
All right.
78 games, 2 goals, 18 assists.
There you go. I knew you played there. I knew it.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Sean Hill.
Useless hockey trivia. So, Steve, just in your opinion, you've been around a lot of dressing rooms. You've talked to a lot of guys in junior, especially the guys in junior that are just dying for their first NHL contract. What's your opinion?
It's tough. Like, I could totally understand why guys would do steroids. I mean, listen, we look down on athletes who cheat because, doing steroids and performance-enhancing drugs is cheating. But Chris, Adam, I'm pointing at me, in every job I've ever had, there's been some guy or person doing something not so becoming to get ahead. So we kind of look down on these players as if they're doing something foreign to the real world.
Right. We like to grow up and pretend that people don't cheat.
Yeah, but and this isn't me excusing the players who do. This is me saying, of course they do. It happens everywhere else. Why wouldn't it happen in sports? And if it does happen in sports, why wouldn't it happen in hockey? It's been my experience, just my opinion, that the players who get ahead are the players who, A, are naturally gifted, and B, try harder. But yeah, I could totally see it.
Wouldn't that be the same in real life too? It's the gifted
yes.
people who work harder and are gifted.
Yeah, and then there's folks who work hard, are gifted, and cheat.
Yeah. Ryan Braun.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, okay. Well, and it's interesting, too, to follow what's going on with A-Rod right now because he was suspended 211 games, which is an odd number by the MLB. And I love it because A-Rod is a humongous a-hole. Always has been. Nobody likes A-Rod. Not even A-Rod, I don't think, likes A-Rod. By the way, A-Rod apparently in his apartment has a picture of himself as a minotaur. The half...
A minotaur?
Minotaur? Half horse, half man. But it's of him.
That's so douchey.
And apparently it's like 12 feet. Like, it's huge. And it's a painting.
Now, is that like the actor who put the gerbil up his butt? Like, that's just such a...
Richard Gere.
Yeah, that's just such a cartoonishly douchey story that it can't be true.
Apparently it's true. By the way, you want to know what Derek Jeter does with his one-night stands?
What? Oh, yeah, I've heard this.
He sends them home with a gift basket full of Derek Jeter memorabilia, including autographed baseballs that they can sell online.
So wouldn't that mean their value would be low?
Well, it depends on how much he sleeps around, I guess. I mean,
as a collector of sports memorabilia, wouldn't that mean that would drive the value of a let's say, a signed ball down?
That's a good question.
I'm thinking his balls aren't worth as much in 2013 as they were in 2005.
But
oh yeah, I didn't even mean to do that. But it's true. It's true.
It's very true.
It's true. I am such a nerd. Game used jersey cards used to be like $5 a card, and then there was a crash in the market, and you're lucky to get $1 for those things.
Really?
Yeah, I know. And I stocked up on them. And now I just got all these used card stock, and I don't know what to do with it.
You made a bad investment, is what happened.
I did.
And you know what I hate about those cards? I want the jersey. Why are you tearing up a game-used jersey for a hockey card?
Oh, there was someone got mad, everyone got mad at this company. I can't remember which one. One of the big hockey card companies, because they had a pair of George Vesna's pads. Like
they didn't.
And they chopped them up. Yep. Yep.
That happened?
We might need to get Brad from klutzenchar.com to come on the show.
You know, he'd be an interesting interview. We should have him on.
He would. You know what? Screw it. If nothing happens next episode or by next episode, let's have. Well, Brad, are you listening? You're coming on.
Love to talk to him about the hockey card market and everything. It'd be great. Yeah, I want the jerseys. Why don't they just sell those? I'll buy a game used jersey.
Because game used jerseys are like $400 or $500.
That's not cool, man. How can they charge $400 or $500 for that and then rip it up and throw it in a hockey card?
Well, and then the hockey card is not worth that much. Unless it's rare. There are kinds of hockey cards that are like $200 for like a pack of 5 cards.
Wow.
It's pretty nuts.
You know, when you really break it down, you know, when you're talking about a hockey card pack like that,
break it down.
$200 for some fabric, some cardboard, and some ink.
Yeah, but my favorite player's on it too.
And to be fair, we've all talked about spending $200 to not go and see the Florida Panthers this year.
Well, I would be there at least once to go see them. So, and also our listeners are what's important here, Chris.
You're right.
Yeah, but you're right. Most of the tickets would never get used.
Most of it we never would use. Yeah.
Actually, I have an old school autograph card from a Vancouver Canuck.
What?
You may be interested in.
Which one?
Hold on. Gerald Diddick.
He's not known for being a Canuck, so I think it'd be really difficult for you to like this
Mark
card.
Messier.
Cam Neely.
Oh, he was a Canuck?
And he was wearing the V jersey and everything.
Oh, those ugly V jerseys.
Kidding.
Yeah, those jerseys that were supposed to, with the Cooperalls, that were supposed to strike fear into the opponents, and everybody was just like,
Yeah,
terrible.
Sweat 3,900 pounds a game.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, getting back to the steroid thing, if you do have, I mean, I don't want to encourage fake stories.
No. Were you about to say if you have a tip for the Steve Dangle podcast?
I was going to throw that out there. You can't do that, can you? I'm sorry. I forget sometimes that I'm not on Top 40 radio all the time.
Tweet it at us.
Yeah, tweet it at us for sure. If you do have a fake tip, send it with hashtag Steve's Pee-Pee in the subject line. Or don't do that. Don't actually.
No, do it. Go ahead.
Okay, so
go ahead.
I have a question for you, and this is we've gotten into the steroids thing. I wanted to mention A-Rod and that type of thing. The first NHL player that really gets caught cheating. The first one.
Okay.
Like really high-profile NHL player that gets caught with steroids.
Okay.
How much of a backlash is there going to be?
What's the suspension going to be like? Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's going to have to be... Okay, like Chris Simon, I think, got 30 games for repeat offending. And he stomped on Jarkko Ruutu that one time.
Yeah.
Is this worse than that?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. If you stomp on someone, if you hit someone in the head like Donald Brashear did... Or not Donald Brashear. Marty McSorley did on Donald Brashear. To me, that's violence. That's just straight up violence.
Yeah, would it be worse than Bertuzzi?
And how much did he get?
He got like a season and a half.
So that's the thing, is that what happens? Is it are we now desensitized to it, or is it actually a big story? Or is it kind of like, well, we're not surprised?
Or did they just make a statement and say, you can never play for the NHL again? You're done.
Well, if baseball doesn't even do that.
No, but like if I mean, that would be a PR win in my eyes for the NHL. If they're like, we have a zero tolerance for this.
The KHL would be like, come on over.
Yeah.
But what if the NHL was just like, zero tolerance? If you get caught with steroids and it's provable and this is what happened, you are no longer ever allowed to play for the NHL.
Okay, now let's pretend, first player caught, Sidney Crosby. You're going to kick Sidney Crosby out of the NHL?
This is why I feel like we'll never hear about this stuff for the NHL, because they can't afford one way or the other for it to get out.
Yeah, it's bad PR. I'm just wondering what happens to that player, because I mean, obviously they get booed in every arena, but is it is it one of those things that, players start to headhunt them a little bit, or they start to yap about it on the ice?
I don't know if you want to headhunt a guy on steroids.
No, a guy off
like
steroids you do, because he gets a little soft.
Oh, there you go. Now, okay, here's a thought that just creeped into my head, and it makes me a little sad. They would never kick out Crosby if he were caught and he did them. Let's pretend he did.
They wouldn't even release that information.
No, of course. Ovechkin, I think they would have no problem.
Yeah, well, there's a fair degree of xenophobia in the NHL. I
think they would have no problem.
Now, can you explain that? I agree with you.
The xenophobia?
Can you explain why they would have no problem roasting Ovechkin, who is one of the most electrifying players in the NHL, and for a long time, for me, I liked him over Crosby, just because he seemed like
me too.
He was having a good time. He's enjoying his life.
Yeah.
Whereas Crosby's like, yep, and he didn't get every game.
Well, I like both, which is weird. It's like. Bloods versus Crips.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Wearing blue and red, like I don't see what the big deal is. Eminem. Lyrics. Hashtag lyrics. Hashtag Steve's PP. I don't know. Like, you got to remember, the Cold War was like, it ended right when we were born.
Right.
So, like, our parents, if you ask them about Russians, probably are not crazy about them. They just grew up in that environment. And who's running the show? It's certainly not people our age.
No, that's true. It's people double our age.
It's people our parents' age.
Yeah.
And older. So, I think that's where it comes from.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
And to me, that's really sad. I think that's really effing sad.
Europeans always have attitude problems, it seems. And
does the media, and I hate to use this, I hate using the media, is that not perpetuated by certain pundits, hockey pundits?
Pundits? Yeah, probably. And I'm you know what? I'm going to throw it out there. Happens a lot to black players.
It does. Yes, it does.
And one little thing I noticed, people were getting on Evander Kane, getting on him. And then he goes, you know what? Part of it's about race. I haven't heard a bloody thing since.
And then you know what? It's
I haven't
right.
heard a single thing about that player since.
Do you remember the picture that he took and put on Twitter where he was in Vegas and he was flashing all that money?
Because
he's in Vegas.
But he was goofing on Floyd Mayweather doing that with much bigger stacks of money, by the way, and huge.
And you know what?
Yeah,
Evander Kane makes a lot of money. And Evander Kane should make a lot of money.
And he's a young player.
Because he's a hell of a hockey player. And you know what? If you're in Vegas, you should be flashing money. That's the point of Vegas.
Yeah, and I've heard plenty of stories about, Evander Kane's kind of a chode. Well, okay, that's fine, but he's not a chode for this reason.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? It's like, hey. You leave him alone, except for all the other stuff. Okay, whatever.
Well, I noticed it too with the way Wayne Simmons is, he's seen as, there's guys that are tough guys, but when Wayne Simmons is being tough, he's aggressive. It's not he's a tough guy, he's an aggressive guy. And there's a big difference in those two words. Aggressive means you attack first. Tough guy means you take it on the chin.
Yeah. He a guy that we both, I think, vaguely knew, who's a close friend of Wayne Simmons. I run into him every now and then. And we were just talking about the stories written about him. And this guy says he goes to Wayne sometimes, like when something's written about him, and he goes, "Hey Wayne, did you know you're black?" In every story, they're like, "And by the way, he's black." They just find a way to talk about it.
Yeah, it just always seems to come up, and it's sad.
I look forward to the day where it's not a big deal.
Me too.
Who gives a crap?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it would be, or it seems like a great theory. It would be nice. And I grew up. Listen, I grew up with Wayne. I played road hockey with him every Saturday. I remember it. Me and Alex Borland and Wayne, and we had Kevin Burnside, all these guys, we'd all go play road hockey together. And Wayne was incredible, and Wayne's an incredibly gifted athlete and a good guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
period. That's all. And you know what? He's a hell of a hockey player, and I would love to see him play for the Leafs.
Oh, who wouldn't? He's one of those guys every Leaf fan would put on their list. And I think David Clarkson was that guy before he was signed. And Dave Bolin, to be honest. Mm-hmm. He was I think the only one they missed there was Bobby Ryan.
Yes. Yeah, it's very, very true.
It's okay. He's a senator now. So. Wow, we have touched on so many things.
We have.
In this
You know what, though,
episode.
this is-
We went in with nothing.
Yeah, well,
we went in with one story, with one email.
Welcome to every podcast. What are you new?
That is the beauty of
Oh
us.
my gosh! We were like, yes, we have one story, and we had the sniffles, and also racism and xenophobia, and we're gonna buy Panthers season seats.